In this video, I'll be showing the two shooters who shot AKA and Tibz in Florida Road, Durban on Friday night. Up until now, only one of the shooters were highlighted, but upon closer inspection, the other shooter can also be seen on CCTV camera firing his gun into the group. The first shooter arrives on scene across the road from where AKA and his friends were having dinner. The second shooter appears next to AKA's vehicle close by and waits by the pole. As soon as AKA and his friends come out of the restaurant, the first shooter leaves his mark, crosses the road, and approaches AKA from behind. The first shooter rounds a car and sprints towards AKA, shooting him at close range, before fleeing in the same direction he came from. So let's take a look at that again to see the second shooter's involvement. As the first shooter moves in to shoot AKA, the second shooter draws his weapon and fires at the group from a short distance away. He then also flees with the first attacker in the same direction.
AKA is an award-winning South African rapper, record producer, and businessman. His life, however, was cut short in February of 2023 when he was assassinated in what many speculate was an ordered hit meant to avenge the death of his 22-year-old fiancée, Anele Tembe, who had fallen to her death from the 10th floor of the Pepper Club Hotel in Cape Town. With a career that spanned over a decade, AKA was murdered at the peak of his career. He had millions of social media followers and was one of the best-selling South African hip-hop artists of all time. Though loved and respected across Africa for his patriotism, humor, outspokenness, and musical talent, AKA's legacy has been tainted by disturbing allegations. Following the death of his fiancée, AKA's character has been called into question following allegations of grooming, abuse, and murder. And as far as AKA was concerned, none of the allegations are true. In this series, we will take a deep dive into the claims and speculation that surround the brutal death of Anele Tembe in 2021 and the tragic assassination of AKA in 2023. It is a story of twisted love, pain, loss, and trauma that some may find disturbing. Please note that in this series, I will not voice my personal opinion. I will simply lay out the perspectives of all the relevant viewpoints and allow you, the viewer, to make your own conclusion. To understand the characters of both Anele and AKA in their adulthood, it is important to first understand the conditions that formed them during their formative years. I will start with AKA's background. AKA was born Kiernan Forbes on the 28th of January in 1988 to parents Lynn Reed and Tony Forbes. At the time of AKA's conception, Lynn was only 19 and fresh out of a Kimberley-based high school where she shined as a top academic achiever and a deputy head girl. Following her completion of matric, she moved to Cape Town in 1987 to pursue teaching at the University of the Western Cape, where she crossed paths with then 20-year-old Tony Forbes, who was also a student at UWC. The pair immediately hit it off, and before they knew it, a baby was on the way. On July 1987, the young couple got married in a shotgun wedding in the Free State, just one day before Tony's 21st birthday.
Let's talk about marriage, especially at 21. Was it an obligation? Yeah, okay, Tony, you gotta go pregnant. You need to step up now. Or was that just the way of life back then?
Well, firstly, it was both of us. It wasn't me getting her pregnant, it was a it was a dual thing. I guess, I grew up in that culture and that time when if there is a child, that the honorable thing to do, the right thing to do, and the expectation was that you would get married. So yeah, which I think is different today. Kiernan had a child and he didn't get married, for example. So very definitely, I think at that point in time, the culture, I guess I don't know if it's a colored community sort of culture.
It's a universal thing, actually. Whites do it, blacks do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would I change anything? Probably not.
Okay.
I'm not a person that dwells on regrets. And having said that, I've learned a lot about life in terms of, there's a time for everything.
Sure.
So, being a young father, being a new husband, starting a career, there's a thing called timing and certain timing of life, and not to force things. Of course, I learned it much later in my life, but would I change anything? No, I wouldn't.
Yeah. And how were you as a father? How did you raise your boys?
I was very strict. I remember I was very hard on my kids.
Okay.
I wanted them to, I guess, do the things that I was taught, so work hard at school, for example, and be disciplined. And so I was tough on them. I mean, I remember Kiernan years later when he was growing up, he said, "Dad, I used to hate you." When Western Province lost on a Saturday, you would call me and say, "Bring me your shoes, let me see if you shine them."
Oh, wow.
So I said I couldn't get far away. So as a father, I was very strict. Having said that, Kiernan said to me, "You know what, Dad, but I didn't realize at the time you were training me, and I think there are more, there are good things that came from that, and he himself was a very strict father with Cairo.
Yeah.
So, I was strict, but there's certain things, not just me, I speak for Lynn as well, that I'm happy to reflect that we instilled certain values in them and certain, a work ethic, respect for other people, being bold to pursue your dreams. And and if I look at having pride in your country, always being willing to help people, my children, our children, they were their own people. They are their own people. Kiernan was his own man. But there's certain foundational, values that we instilled in them. And so, it's a bit of a mixed bag. As a father, I'm sure I definitely made mistakes. But that's life,
Barely out of high school and raising a child in the Cape Flats, in a house they shared with Tony's parents. Money was tight for the young couple. However, being the first grandchild in the Feuds and Reed families, AKA enjoyed an abundance of love, attention, and adoration from his parents and wider family. Within the first year of AKA's life, the family's financial situation would change for the better after Tony secured a well-paying job with well-known management consulting firm, Accenture, post-completion of his qualification in computer science and maths at UWC. The family of three would then move to Glen Haven, a suburb known for attracting young, upwardly mobile, predominantly colored families. From the time AKA could walk, he was made to feel extraordinary. The family often gathered around the lounge, where his paternal grandmother would encourage the young AKA to take center stage, perform Michael Jackson impersonations, and showcase his reading skills. AKA enjoyed this. In fact, AKA has often recounted in interviews that it was during these intimate family gatherings that he fell in love with performing and with the thrill of captivating an audience.
Yeah.
Okay, so another thing that used to happen when you were a kid in Cape Town is your grandparents used to wheel you out, like, come and sing for the people,
yes,
right?
100%.
What was your go-to song that you used to perform for?
My go-to song was din digga digga din 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 din. Any are you okay? Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite memories is the first album that I ever listened to was Michael Jackson Bad, right? Which is very fascinating because Michael Jackson is my dad's generation of music and also my generation of music, and hopefully will be my daughter's music as well.
Yeah.
And for me, I was always the show-off child. So I'm the first grandchild on both sides, on my mom's side and my dad's side. I used to, my first little trick that I learned was to read. I can read really fast.
Shall we time you?
Yeah, so so I can read really fast, and that was the first trick that I learned about how to get attention. That's when I figured out that, oh, it's nice for people to pay attention to me, to have like something to be able to do, and for people to be able to watch me.
Yeah.
So I was maybe 6 years old, and my mom got me this, I don't know if you guys know in Carter, like encyclopedias. So back in the days, people used to knock on your door and sell you encyclopedias. Is that still a thing? Do you guys even know what I'm talking about?
People have Wikipedia now.
Yeah, so then I think that was the thing that changed my life. So she got me this set of encyclopedias, and her dad is a principal. So they'd say, Kiernan, come read for us. The African antelope. So like that was my first expose into what it feels like for people to watch me and to get attention.
Yeah.
And obviously then it progressed into music. So at my grandparents' house, there used to be like a lounge, and then there was steps, and then I'd like, okay, put the music on, and then I'd just like jump and like stand and like sing, and yeah, man, that was my vibe.
Yeah.
And they'd make me do it every Sunday without fail.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it.
Now, on the eastern side of South Africa, more than a decade after AKA's birth, on the 11th of October, 1998, Anele Tembe, who was often nicknamed as Nelly, was born in Durban to parents Moses and Lulu Tembe. Anele was born into a prominent and affluent family, with Anele's father, Moses Tembe, being a successful businessman and philanthropist. Moses was a self-made man who grew up in Umlazi Township with a priest father and a nurse mother who instilled in him a strong value for education. He earned a degree in public administration and political sciences from the University of South Africa and began his career as a court clerk before becoming the chief credit controller for the KZN Development Corporation. Moses' business success, however, took off in the 1980s when he founded several butcheries in townships around KwaZulu-Natal. By the time Anele was born, he had become a successful and respected businessman, serving on the boards of various JSA-listed companies, including the Mr. Price Group. He also led several major developments in KwaZulu-Natal, including the Point Waterfront, the Richards Bay Eco-Junction, and several industrial operations. Today, Moses remains a board member of several companies and has received numerous entrepreneurship-related awards. Anele was born the youngest of 3 children from her parents, following her older siblings, brother Vukile Tembe and sister Nasipo Tembe. In an interview with You magazine, Vukile Tembe described her younger sister as bubbly, vibrant, and a career-driven daddy's girl. At Anele's funeral, her father described Anele as single-minded, strong-willed, stubborn, and always standing up for what she believed in. To cement this persona he had described of Anele, Anele's father would later share a story from 2008 when Anele was only 10 years old. In this story, her father had promised to forego meetings for that day and spend uninterrupted time with Anele. However, when a guest who was supposed to have a meeting with Moses arrived, the young Anele protested so strongly that the guest offered to leave and reschedule the meeting. Anele began her education at Treetops Nursery School and continued at Glenwood Preparatory School. Unfortunately, very early on in Anele's young life, at the age of 12, tragedy struck and her mother would pass away after a long illness. Later, following Anele's own death, rumors would surface that Anele's mother died by suicide. These rumors would be debunked by both Vukile and Moses Tembe, with the family claiming that these rumors were only started to lend legitimacy to claims that Anele was indeed suicidal at the time of her death, and that she had somehow inherited her suicidal behavior from her mother. A few years after the death of Anele's mother, her father remarried to Princess Ntandoyisizwe Zulu, the daughter of the late Zulu king, Goodwill Zwelithini. Together, they created a blended family with their children. At school, Anele excelled in sports and the arts, including soccer, ice skating, ballet, and modeling. During her senior high school years at Durban Girls College, she became the captain of the soccer first team. During this time, she also ventured into acting, securing a role in a children's show on SABC. And although Anele had many interests, her true passion was cooking. After matriculating in 2017 with a bachelor's pass, she decided to pursue a career as a professional chef, aiming to become South Africa's first Michelin-starred chef. In 2018, she enrolled in the Jackie Cameron School of Food and Wine in KZN, where she excelled. And upon graduation, she was accepted into the school's work placement program with an offer to work at the Test Kitchen, a renowned restaurant in Cape Town. Now, shifting our focus to the western side of South Africa, we'll go back to AKA's early years. In 1993, at the age of 5, AKA's family welcomed a new addition, his younger brother, Stefan. Following the tradition of naming their children after athletes, just as AKA was named after rugby player Kieran Crowley, the sports enthusiast Tony would name the newest member of the family after tennis player Stefan Edberg. At this time, Tony's management consulting career was on the rise, and the Forbes family enjoyed a financially stable household, allowing Lynn to leave her job as a school teacher and become a stay-at-home mother. This also allowed AKA to attend Holy Cross, a private primary school in Belleville. It was at this school that AKA showcased his performing talent by securing the lead role in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Life was good for the family. Tony's career was on the up, the young parents were in love, and the two boys were healthy and happy. And in the year 1995, a year after South Africa abolished apartheid and established a democratic government that afforded more opportunities to people of color, the Forbes family would relocate to Johannesburg, to the leafy suburbs of Greenside, due to a work opportunity afforded to Tony. Here, Stefan and AKA attended Greenside Primary School, and despite their 5-year age gap, the young brothers, Stefan and Kiernan, had a close-knit bonding over their shared passions for wrestling and video games.
Shout out to wrestling and all that, because with wrestling, I don't know if The Undertaker is your favorite wrestler.
No, my favorite wrestler is Bret the Hitman Hart.
Oh, yeah.
I even got a tattoo. So that's what I wore. Like, it was like, I even had the little tassels.
Yeah, the tassels. That outfit was kind of fire.
It's hard.
Yeah, I like
costume.
It was a great costume. And in many ways, that's why I love WWE so much and wrestling so much. It's because wrestling is like rap.
Yeah.
100.
I remember you said.
When it was time for high school, AKA went to St. John's College, one of the most premium and expensive private schools in South Africa. During his time there, AKA would excel in English, but would otherwise show very little interest in his other subjects. AKA joined the Debating Society, became a member of Toastmasters International, and thrived on challenging convention and pushing boundaries. So much so that he organized a petition for soccer to be offered at the school. Enrolled in a prestigious school with a predominantly white student population, 14-year-old AKA, together with his friends Sizwe Mpofu Walsh, whose stage name at the time was Vice Versa, and Nhlanhla Makena, whose stage name was Greyhound, founded the rap group Entity. This group emerged from their shared desire to connect and establish their voices and identities as students of color.
Vice Versa, AKA, and Greyhound.
Nhlanhla is Greyhound.
Yeah, it was Greyhound.
Okay, where did you guys meet?
Yeah. So we met at school. We met at St. John's College, where we went to school. Kiernan was actually at St. John's, I think, from even like earlier grades. Nhlanhla and I arrived in grade 8, high school at St. John's. And that year in grade 8 and grade 9, because we were feeling quite alienated with the environment in St. John's, at the time it was like a 95% white school, students and staff, we started to find a home in hip-hop. We founded a place for confident Black expression. We started learning how to beatbox, how to make music, how to make beats and produce. And yeah, so that's how we met. It was kind of like a feeling of Black confidence within an alienated environment in a white world.
And you guys identified as Black?
We did. And I think part of the reason was that like there were so many white students around us, and many people I think who were in these kind of private schools at the time will identify with that feeling of being, in a sea of white people and trying to find points of connection with others that you could, identify around.
I would argue that if you guys were in Cape Town, where I come from, you would identify as colored. It's possible.
So Kiernan, I think, always identified as colored.
Okay.
I must say, Nhlanhla would identify as Black. I would be identified sometimes as colored, but I think it's a little bit more complicated because I think colored, in some ways, is its own identity. Whereas first generation mixed race South Africans, you can be identified as colored, but you don't have any colored family, so it's a bit more complicated. But I would certainly, I'm usually identified as colored, by people who just see me.
AKA, of course, is a clear success from that rap group. It becomes who he becomes, and I think he's an iconic figure in South African hip hop.
Sure.
I think that South African hip hop vastly transforms in terms of it attracting sponsors and money as a result of him and Cassper and the conflict. But before that, there's him in Entity. What happens? Who forms Entity? Why a bunch of school kids in high school deciding they're going to form a hip hop group?
Let's go into the archives. Let's go into the archive of South African hip hop. Entity was originally a group of 6 people. And it wasn't just a rap recording group. At the beginning, it was dance. So like we were popping and locking
and crumping.
Crumping was even later. Like this is pre-crumping. And beatboxing. So we would, during break or after school, we'd go to this bench at our school, and there were the people who were the best beatboxers, the people who were the best rappers, and that's how it started. So we used to create entire songs with just like beatboxing and rapping. Now, over time, people started dropping out of the group. So think about it, and I kind of identify with this now. They're Black parents who have sent their kids to St. John's, right? One of the premium schools in the country. And they're like, you went there to rap. You are leaving this group. Like, we did not send you to the schools, to become a rapper. So from 6, it went to 4. From 4, it went to 3. And then the 3 of us who were the 3 people who were like finally in the group were the ones who were most committed to really making sure this group like eventually happened. Even though the 4th person, Books, literally had to drop out because his parents were like, we are not supporting this. he ended up becoming a brilliant producer and producing Bumper and all of this. A lot of AKA
Bumper,
stuff too.
Pro Kid.
Yeah. He produced
shout out to
Bumper. He
Bruce.
produced a lot of Kulichana.
Oh.
He produced a lot of AKA, early AKA. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's also someone who's done great things from that group of friends.
Yeah.
And then the three of us really tried to become recording artists, and the group entity then recorded a demo album. The first time any of us was ever in a studio. We recorded 2 songs, and from that we then got signed to a label and
By 2003, when the 3 boys were in the 9th grade, they had become self-taught record producers. They produced a demo and quickly secured a record deal after being scouted performing at an event hosted by popular youth-centered NGO Love Life. And soon after, the boys went on to record and release an album called Royal School of Hip Hop in 2005. The album was executive produced by hip-hop giant Slicker, and the album would go on to be nominated for a Cora All-Africa Music Award in the Best African Hip-Hop category, a testament to the boys' early promise and undeniable talent. As AKA's early career began to take off, the situation at home worsened. Tensions between his parents were escalating, and the family faced financial struggles after Tony left his corporate job to start his own business, with Lynn supporting this new business venture by handling general administration work. And soon after AKA matriculated, his parents divorced. In an interview on an episode of Within the Hazel podcast, AKA's father, Tony, would accept the blame for the demise of his marriage, admitting that he was not the best husband because he did not spend time with Lynn. Tony would further highlight that this led to the breakdown of his marriage because Lynn's primary love language was quality time. In the year 2006, after completing matric, Entity disbanded due to conflicting ambitions. Sizwe aspired to pursue academia. Nhlanhla aimed for a career in law, while AKA remained set on turning music into a career. While many parents at St. John's College were discouraging of their kids pursuing a rap career after being placed in severe financial pressure from their school fees, AKA's parents encouraged him to follow his passion. Even in the midst of divorce, his parents were in agreement that he should study at the Academy of Sound Engineering, believing that a formal qualification would provide credibility to his music career. That same year, in 2006, AKA co-founded a production group called the Ivy League, along 2 other members, which dominated the South African hip-hop production space between 2007 and 2011, going on to produce tracks for some of South Africa's top hip-hop artists, including JR, Pro Kid, and Kulichana. In 2009, AKA would work on his solo career with the release of In My Walk and Do It. These tracks gained him early attention, landing him a feature in Hype magazine, and suddenly, AKA was on everyone's radar. But the real game changer came on the 28th of July 2010, when he dropped I Want It All featuring Kulichana and Pro, the lead single from his debut album, Alter Ego. That album wasn't just a debut, it was AKA's breakout moment, because before the album even fully dropped, singles like All I Know and Victory Lap had already hit the airwaves, with Victory Lap blowing up on South African radio. Behind AKA's music, there was a business engine driving him forward. He joined forces with Fifth Season, a powerhouse management company run by Raphael Benza. And then there was Tibz. AKA's manager would also turn into a lifelong friend that would guide his rise to fame. Together, they formed a team, with Tibz in particular playing a pivotal role in shaping AKA's brand and career. Tragically, years later, Tibz would also become a casualty in the assassination that took AKA's life. Alter Ego achieved tremendous success, earning platinum status and bringing AKA widespread recognition and several awards, such as Best Newcomer, Best Hip Hop Album, and Best Produced Album at the 2011 Metro Awards. The following year, at the South African Music Awards, he was awarded Male Artist of the Year. His ascent to fame skyrocketed, and by the age of 24, AKA had become a full-fledged hip-hop sensation. And in 2013, he got the opportunity to perform as an opening act for his rap hero, Kanye West, at the Dome in South Africa. Later, AKA would be compared to Kanye West due to his braggadocious, arrogant, and say-it-like-you-mean-it personality. It was the same cocky personality that ignited one of the biggest feuds in South African hip-hop between AKA and Cassper Nyovest. The beef began with a single tweet in 2014 where Cassper claimed that his track, Dog Shebeleza, was the ultimate South African hip-hop anthem. AKA, having just released his hit, Congratulate, which topped the South African iTunes charts at the time, responded with a tweet stating, "There's a rapper running around saying he's got the biggest song in the country. I challenge you to find the song in the iTunes Top 100. Although the tweet was eventually deleted, it sparked a long-lasting rivalry between the two artists. In August 2014, Cassper claimed that AKA's friend and business associate Prince Nyembe had pointed a gun at him while he was on his way to a makeup studio at the SABC. Both rappers were set to perform on the late-night show Live Amp. Enraged by the incident, Cassper refused to go on stage, left the venue, and filed charges. However, the charges were later thrown out of court, but the tension between the two artists continued to escalate. In December of that year, during the South African Hip Hop Awards, a video of AKA mocking Cassper went viral. The clip showed AKA grinning and flaunting his awards in Cassper's direction. Both had been nominated in the same categories, but AKA walked away with the awards, leaving Cassper visibly upset at the public display of triumph by his rival. This further fueled the tension between the two artists. In August of 2015, Cassper took to Twitter to out AKA for slapping him at a Santon club.
People don't have like the back end for that thing.
Yeah.
The only thing they know, you went on social media saying he slapped you, right? And at that time, you were like protecting the brand, like we spoke about the brands. You said, nah, I didn't fight back because I have to keep my brands intact. I don't want to act like a hooligan. Explain to us what happens on that night. Like,
I just signed a deal with a company called AG Mobile. I think they were giving me $1 million or something. I don't remember.
Light flex.
Yeah. For that time, it wasn't light flex. It was a peak flex. and then I go to the club to celebrate. And then we end up being in the same section. Me being me, I'm just in the corner. I don't want trouble. And he just came over with, I think it was Cheeks. No, it was Rich Mahogany or Cheeks. They look alike.
Cheeks is done design, by the way.
Yeah.
And they don't look alike.
One of them walked.
Yo, cancel that. Take that out.
Yeah. And one of them walked and he just got there and he slapped me. And I was not expecting it, so I fell. So mfana ke emi mo couchung mfana sale nyaza le tsogo le le bona le softing yana khalatelele le betsa tlapa ntate ya o botse ano re dwa
mpama
and mpama etsinya matlo jo like facing on mpama mana re pa so ke tsoga mo fatshe la mana dintsha. So at that point, like, I want to fight. because like I'm embarrassed. I want to fight, and there's like these bodyguards or these bouncers that are holding me. I remember also like rest in peace. Tibz was also right there. I pushed Tibz, and he looked at me like little nigga, you gonna push me? But I'm pissed off. I don't care. I really want to fight. But in those few seconds where these guys were able to hold me back, I came to my senses and said, "Yo, this is not a good look." You know? I turned around, I jumped the couch, and I went home. And it was a pop. So I try to like do like posting because I don't want someone to post before me and tell a different story. So then I'm gonna keep posting and I got 5 fingers.
You went that bad, dog.
1,000 ways to die.
Like
dog,
bro.
you posted and I don't even remember what the code was, but my God is big.
Like I could tell you, you can slap me, but I'm so happy.
Yeah, you can slap me, but not take the happiness outside of me. What? Nyovest.
That was terrible. That wasn't hip hop. That wasn't.
I mean, I've taken a couple L's.
That wasn't hip hop, bro.
That was one of them. AKA initially denied this, but soon after, both artists dropped diss tracks, with AKA being the first to release his song Composure, where he referenced the Santon Club incident, asking why Cassper was coming over to his table uninvited.
You thrive in being the villain, you know.
Actually, even like the perfect villain moment was the slap moment.
Yeah, that was that.
What happened? Sharp.
I think I just was at, we were at Kantari, I just saw the brew. I said, yo, it's time. I looked at my boy Rich. I said, nah? I said, yeah, it's time. There, that motherfucker right there.
There go that nigga right there.
Funny story. I think Costa Titch was actually somewhere as a dancer.
He was a dancer.
He was a dancer.
Kenna was a dancer, yeah.
And yeah, man, it is what it is.
And then you just went.
But now must I give you guys a like come on. You know it is, guys. You know, let me tell you something.
You go like,
let me tell you
as
something.
Composure goes, why you planning?
No, man.
Why you coming to my table?
That's what it sounded like. It felt like he came to your table. That's what it.
Oh, it sounds like that.
That's what it sounds
to you
like.
guys, it sounds like that's how it happened.
Yeah, because that's what you say. Why you coming to my table without asking, dog?
Nah, it wasn't like that. But you know, I look back now also, and I'm not proud of moments like that. Now that I'm a bit older, and I've gone through some shit in my life, I'm actually not proud of that. Also, I'm not proud of swearing at his parents, you know, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And I definitely owe them an apology.
A few weeks later, Cassper responded with the harder-hitting track, Dust to Dust. He mocked AKA for taking a hunter's ad that he had previously turned down, for using ghost writers on some of his songs, and for only finding success when collaborating with black artists who spoke Vernac. Cassper further accused AKA of having a cocaine problem, a claim that resurfaced after the tragic death of his fiancée. This, however, will be explored in more detail later in the series. He also attacked AKA's personal life, suggesting that DJ Zinhle, the mother of AKA's child, had to raise 2 kids, one being AKA himself. Cassper delivered his final blow by revealing AKA's infidelity with Bonang Matheba, while AKA was still in a relationship with DJ Zinhle. For most of 2016, it seemed that the long-standing rivalry between AKA and Cassper had subsided, with both focusing on their music and business ventures. However, towards the year's end, Cassper announced plans to perform at FNB Stadium and fill its 94,000-seat capacity, only to face challenges along the way. He struggled to find headline sponsors, invested his own money, and ticket sales were slow. AKA seized the moment to knock his opponent's misfortune, offering to co-headline the show for 1 million rand. Cassper replied on Twitter with, "Just buy a ticket, bro." Despite the setbacks, Cassper eventually managed to fill the stadium. And in a surprising gesture, AKA congratulated him
posting a picture of Cassper with the caption, "Powerful." In early 2018, AKA came out swinging with his track Star Signs, a collaboration with Storgy T that took shots at the entire South African hip-hop scene for sounding too American. This was a direct dig at Cassper, who openly embraced American culture and often rapped with an American accent. In June 2018, AKA dropped his highly anticipated third album, Touch My Blood, the follow-up to his 2014 release, Levels. The album featured popular tracks like Beyoncé, allegedly aimed at his ex, Bonang Matheba, whose involvement with AKA will be covered later in the series, and Fella in Versace, which made it onto Spotify's global playlist. Despite mixed reviews, Touch My Blood was a huge success, going gold just weeks after its release and achieving platinum status by November 2018. The feud between AKA and Cassper flared up again when Cassper, who had shown up uninvited to a Touch My Blood launch party, claimed that AKA had assaulted him. AKA supporters questioned why Cassper thought it was a good idea to crash his rival's event and urged him to stop running to Twitter and playing the victim. When asked why he hadn't pressed charges against AKA, Cassper suggested that Kiernan had a way of getting cases dismissed, saying on Twitter, "You know you can buy things. It's South Africa." For years, Cassper had claimed that AKA was unfairly favored by the hip-hop industry, resulting in more radio airplay. In early January 2019, Cassper hinted in a tweet that artists had to pay to get their music played on the radio. In response, while in Nigeria, AKA posted a video directly addressing Cassper.
I've been seeing a lot of posts and stuff, and I want to give you guys some advice, musicians in particular. I see a lot of people complaining about, it's a dirty game, and I got the remedy. Okay, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why radio is not playing your shit. It's because your shit doesn't bang, bro. Okay? You're not making hot shit. That's why the radio isn't playing you. It's that simple. Make hot shit and you will get airplay. The reason you're not getting airplay is because your shit is not dope. That's it.
In late March 2020, AKA miscalculated a jump into the crowd during a concert and was momentarily knocked out. Cassper made fun of the mishap, remarking that if he had attempted to crowd surf, his fans would have caught him. That same weekend, AKA, seemingly in a case of drunk dialing, insulted Cassper, criticizing his deadbeat dad for letting him drop out of high school and blaming his mother for allowing it. He also hurled homophobic slurs at Cassper and tweeted offensive remarks that I cannot say here, but will simply display in the screen. Cassper was visibly upset, particularly over the disrespect shown to his parents, stating, "Me and him are done for life." And it was, because the bitterness between the two lasted until AKA's death. AKA continuously got under Cassper's skin, to the point that, a few months after AKA's death, Cassper revealed on El Tito's podcast that he had spent years losing sleep over this rivalry. He admitted, "Kiernan used to be the first thing I think about when I wake up at that moment after I open my eyes. Before I thought about my girlfriend, I was like, what did he do? What is he doing? I gotta get back." And while it may seem like a stretch, hip-hop rivalries can sometimes spiral into real-world violence. The most well-known example is the feud between Tupac and Biggie Smalls, two of the biggest names in the rap game during the 1990s. What started as lyrical jabs escalated into a deadly East Coast versus West Coast rivalry. The tension reached its peak when both artists were tragically gunned down in separate incidents, Tupac in 1996, and Biggie in 1997. Their deaths, though officially unsolved, are widely believed to be tied to the beef between the two camps. And while there are no reports tying AKA's assassination to his beef with Cassper, the deadly outcome between Biggie and Tupac serves as a grim reminder of how music industry rivalries can sometimes escape the confines of competition and lead to real-life violence.